Well, I can't say no now, can I?
Well, you can if you want. So
That doesn't make sense. All right.
So
you hold tight. Claire's going to talk to you for a minute.
Yeah. Hello, 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 and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
How to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, please support us on Patreon.
And enjoy the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, everyone.
That's become like a thing now where like every single time we start the podcast almost, there's like, as I'm saying my hello, 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 I watch Serena dive towards the recorder to make sure it's recording and then try and dive back to her mic in order to say her, hello.
My little
Hi, everyone.
intro. I mean, and the funny thing is we check, she checks, I check. And
We
then
both
I'm
check.
like, and sometimes during the episode, you'll see me too. I'm like, just double, triple.
But you know what? And we also know there's going to be a point in time again where we don't do it.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
It's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Like, we just kind of made our peace.
And it was
going
to be the best episode ever again.
Yeah.
And then
It always happens on those ones. Oh, you out?
I'm out. I'm
Do
good.
you want to meet your needs and go get one?
Well, I can't say no now, can I?
Well, you can if you want. So
That doesn't make sense. All right.
So
you hold tight. Claire's going to talk to you for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get some seltzer.
Serena's off to go get some seltzer. Like it's almost like this is what we do. I mean, it's a thing. Normally, we're very good at kind of getting things like ready and prepared, but we kind of like we recorded from one into the next one today. Oh, I don't know what's going on behind me, but you can see Serena's butt in her screen. Oh, if you haven't watched the podcast, just go watch it today because it's beautiful. That's all I'll say. It's beautiful.
My bum?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just her butt, it's what she was doing with it. That's all I'm going to say. Move swiftly on before she gets back on her headphones and her mic.
Normally, I'd rush back towards that one.
Oh, I thought you were getting the other one. Oh, did you? Have you had
Oh,
the
I
other
forgot.
one? Oh, it's all right. It's okay. We'll move on. It's all good.
We had it ready to go, and then
Yeah.
I just, whatever.
We've been doing a lot of clearing out recently, actually. It's been really good. Like, I feel it's very cathartic. I mean, that's what we like. We've got the good, we're like color themed today as well.
Serious photos.
Yes.
Stare off into space, looking at.
Anyway.
My word.
What?
I want to get pictures done with Joe and I, where we're doing that like look up into the sky,
Like
and
the
then
old,
there's
like 80s style ones, like with the faded like picture of the two of you.
and then you have like the clip of Larry in the top and like the glowing orb, so it looks like we're just looking up at him.
Oh my God, I love that.
Christmas cards. Hopefully I remember this. Like, feel free to nudge if you haven't heard about this. Like, I'd really like this one to stick, because
this would be a good one to
like
stick.
a framed. Oh my! I'd like when I leave to go on the road, you can have a framed like 90 by 100 portrait of us and Larry.
Do you remember the conversation we had recently about you getting joy at my not being happy?
That wouldn't make you happy?
Not in my house. No, give me a digital one to put on my laptop. Yeah, by all means.
It's the Big Bang theory.
Yeah, it's
like,
the Amy factor. It's exactly what I was thinking of too.
If you haven't seen it, Amy gets Penny, who's there's a weird nuance to their relationship, but it's like this huge portrait of the two of them,
Like canvas painted portrait. Yeah, it's not good. Oh, by the way, I just want to realize, I just need to clarify. The conversation we had was I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any element of Serena getting joy from my not being happy. Not that was a thing that was happening. Yes. So yes, just in case listeners are like, wait, what?
Wallet size it is.
Yes. I mean, give me a digital one I can put on my laptop.
Well, you'll get that too.
Oh, okay.
A keychain, a mug. Anyway, back to clearing. Clear out the old stuff to make room for the big portrait.
Let me give you some hints about the things I will be clearing out ahead still to come this year, apparently. There's things that will be like, yeah, in one door, out the next, out the back door. So yeah, we've been doing lots of clearing out. It's felt really cathartic. Yeah. Like I'm in the process of moving right now, and just to be like clearing things and be like, one of the things like jars. I keep jars, because glass jars, I'm like, they're good for like storing food in and stuff. I'm like, I'm going to keep 2 glass jars.
Mine's boxes.
Yeah.
Joe will be like,
hey,
do you need a little box? Like, I mean, and not like the big, like.
Yeah, me too. But it's all right. I've got water. I'm good.
Not like the Amazon boxes, but like that weird shape, like the cell phone box. It's funny. I saw somebody post the other day on Facebook, and it was like, that cell phone box that you're keeping, you don't need it. You're never going to use it. And it's true, but I'm like, it's those times I throw it away, and then I'm like, that was the perfect box. I need it for this. So like the other day, Joe actually asked me as we're like clearing up from the holidays, he's like, oh, do you need this little box? And then he's like, nope, you don't need this little box. I was like, but that's a different size. I don't have that box. And then I had to stop myself. It's like, Serena, you don't need another box.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm going to talk about some really important stuff today, but I don't know why. I feel like I need to share my little life hack with the world. Like, this is completely off topic with what we've just been talking about, and completely off topic with what we were about to talk about. But this was a real revelation to me. So I've had a bit of a cold. As you can probably still hear, I've still got my smelly cat voice going on. If you've never seen Friends, I apologize. Go back and listen to a couple of episodes before. It will make sense. Or make more sense than it does right now. Yeah, or it won't. So I had this thing, because obviously I've been kind of stuffy. I've been blowing my nose a lot. My nose has been a little bit sore. And the other day I was like, I really should moisturize it, but I couldn't be asked to get off the couch because I was feeling really crappy. And so I used my chapstick to kind of moisturize. I was like, moisturize my lips. I'm like, well, I'll use it, like put my finger on it and moisturize my nose. I have peppermint chapstick. Oh my God, I inhale and I'm like, oh my God, I can breathe through my nose again. It was like the best life hack ever.
It's better than the Vicks, because I used to do Vicks as a kid, which does that like. Yeah, but then you have like this shiny little mustache and also underneath,
the stinging, like where like
if it's raw.
Yeah, yeah, that was the whole point. Like it was sore. I did not want to add something that was going to inflame it further. So, but yeah, that was my little life hack. You're welcome.
Mine's putting Vicks on the bottom of your feet before you sleep with socks on. Yeah.
Someone tried that the other day. I kind of told them about that, but then they woke up in the middle of the night and the socks were like, they'd obviously taken the socks off while they were asleep because they're not used to sleeping in socks, which I understand. Mm-hmm. Anyway, clearing aside, life hacks aside, should we get on with what we're going to talk about today?
Whatever.
There are moments where it might be helpful. Like for our listeners, I apologize. If our waffling like this doesn't work for you, let us know. We might not stop doing it, but be good to know about it. And if you enjoy it, let us know, but don't encourage us because we don't need to do any more of it.
I should get a t-shirt that says does not need encouragement.
Right. Well, and actually it was funny because Serena was saying this, like we've had so many people say to us how it feels like when they're listening to the podcast, they feel like they're just sat on the couch with us back home. And we love that. Like that really means a lot to us. And just to kind of have that feel. But I do think that this kind of waffle factor,
randomness,
the random factor, the we're over here, we're over there now, that may contribute to that somewhat. So I enjoy this. I hope you do too. And if you do, while I'm thinking about it, be sure to go and rate and leave a written review for us on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, because it helps other people find us. So that would be great. But today we're not talking about any of that.
Nope.
Today we're talking about how something that normally makes you feel good sometimes needs to go out of the window when it doesn't meet your needs in a given moment. Now, we talk about this all the time, about the fact that your needs are constantly changing. And depending on what's going on in your life, depending on what the circumstances are, depending on like what situations you're in, depending on how you're feeling, like what level of internal resource you have, there are going to be different things that are going to meet your needs moment by moment. We know that. But also what you'll find is that there are going to be some staples that kind of are your tried and trusted, tried and true. Yeah, this is a go-to for me. And there are going to be times when even those are not the things that you need. So it's important to be aware of this in order that in those moments you can stop and check in. Now, this is one of the reasons that the needs practice that we teach as part of the Universal Needs Unlimited Refills program is really helpful, because it prompts you to check in. And one of the things that's really important is to check in and not just do the same thing you've been doing every week. I mean, you go through phases where there'll be the same thing on repeat for a while,
because that's what actually meets your needs.
But it's the checking in and making sure that makes a difference, because it's so easy to get into habit. Like, habits are just, they're such a part of our day-to-day life. Like, you don't even, a lot of them become unconscious. Like, we don't even realize that we're doing them. And then you're like midway through doing something and we're like, wait, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Oh, okay, I guess I'm doing this now. But it's those things that it's really important for us to kind of check in with and find out, well, actually, is this what I need right now? Or is this something that could be compromising my needs because of where I'm at in this moment? And I know that you had a very kind of big example of this recently, and in fact both of us have. We both had things recently that have been significant, shall we say.
There's actually two that come to mind.
Oh, awesome.
Me. Yeah.
Yay.
Bonus example.
Go for it, yeah. Big on the bonuses at the moment. I don't know what that's about. It's whatever, yeah. Okay.
And moving on. The first one, it actually happened, was it a Friday Fun post in our Nourish Your Needs group?
I have no idea, because I don't know what we're talking about yet.
Oh, this is the one that you know about.
Oh,
yeah. So I think
I think it was one of the Friday Fun
Yeah,
posts.
I think it's every Friday in our Nourish Your Needs group, our women's group on Facebook, we do like a little fun thing to kind of get to know each other a little bit better, just to like have something fun on a Friday. And one of the things was, what are some things that
what's something that makes you feel good?
Yeah, I think that's, or like you love it, like something along those lines. And I said glitter, dancing, and something else. I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember either.
But it was like three things that are very me. Like it wasn't a shock to anybody.
Oh, yeah.
What was a
dun, dun, dun.
Right. And be like,
she likes
really?
glitter.
It makes you happy. What are three things that make you happy?
Yeah.
And our Joe, who's the new member of our team, came back and she's like, coffee? ? And I was like, and I took a step back. I was like, oh yeah. Well, yeah, it does. And I was like, actually, I've been sick, so I haven't been drinking coffee because it really hasn't served me to. I knew that would be a detriment to, it would take from me instead of giving to me. And it's like, it wasn't even on my mind.
It wasn't on the radar, which is like, and if you've listened to the podcast, and that was the thing, she was like, but I've listened to the podcast. Like she's like the coffee queen of like, and it's like, well, that just goes to show where she's at and the things that will meet her. And it wasn't just the fact that coffee wasn't going to, and it's like, yes, of course, coffee kind of meets your needs a little bit. I do think there's an element of habit there. And there might be other ways of meeting those same needs that might be more constructive and supportive and what have you. But coffee is one of the ways that Serena does meet those needs. We've all got things.
And it's something I usually truly enjoy.
Yes.
I mean, it's something that brings me a level of joy, and that meets my needs. It may not be the red spectrum, like quick pick me up type of thing, but like
absolutely.
And Joe knew that I enjoy it. Like I I enjoy coffee, and she is an avid listener to the podcast, so she knows
She's
how
like,
much.
Wait,
I
what?
Like, how did you miss that?
And the interesting thing is that in this situation where Serena was at, because she was feeling sick, not only was it not going to meet her needs to whatever extent, like whether it was meeting emotional experience expression because she's getting enjoyment out of it, or whether it was meeting foundation function as a slightly red spectrum because it was a little pick me up because she was feeling a bit tired, like, or whether it was masking foundation, like there was like whatever the reason was. In this moment, not only was it not meeting needs, excuse me, but in the context of being sick, she was realizing that it was actually probably going to compromise needs, and especially where you were having like some stomach issues, was like it could really compromise her foundation function needs in terms of like well-being. So it's like it was one of those moments where like, here's this thing which Serena is known for, and yet in that moment it wasn't even on her mind because it wasn't something that was meeting her needs. So that's the first one. What's the second example?
The second one is interesting, right? That it wasn't, well, it didn't come to me right away, but in the same time period, one of my other things, dancing. I love to dance. There's very rarely a point where I'm not like, yes, dancing meets my needs, like in some way. Like sometimes it's emotional experience expression. Sometimes it's value. It can meet multiple needs of mine. And it's something that's very present in my life. And during a performance, I tore my calf muscle. And I was down and out for a while, like legitimately down and out. Like even if I wanted to dance and I wanted to dance, I wasn't physically able to. And then there came the period after about a month, I was like, I could go back to class. I could start dancing again. And I checked in and I'm like, is this really what I need right now? Like in checking in, would this compromise me more than it would actually like fuel me and refill me and do something for me? I didn't dance for 3 months. Like 3 months. That hasn't happened
it's unheard of.
Like, but, and it wasn't even like, I'd have some feelings like the day of my class. I'm like, oh, I wish I could be there. I'm like, nope, this is me resting, me giving my body what I need, me, you know, taking care of myself. That's what I need. And that's what's going to help me continue to dance after this period, because I could have gone back a day later, a week later, a month later, 2 months later. And chances are I would have injured myself further, whether I knew it or not. But I would have taken the impact of that. So to just be like I said, I had to go through my own process with it each week. But it was like, okay, no, actually it's not going to serve me to go to class today. Like, and then when I finally went back to class last week, it was like, yes, like now I'm back. I didn't have to hold back. I didn't have to worry about anything.
Not
it's like
something that Serena is renowned for being good at, holding back.
Or, I mean, especially with dance, especially with dance, my MO, like I broke a cast off of my leg once to compete. Like it's just, it was do what feels present, and dancing is always like, you want to dance? Yes. Like, but really checking in and being like, no, I'm not gonna impact myself and, you know, compromise my needs. Like, figure out the word compromise my needs to meet this one little need here. It would help. It would do this. But then it would compromise these. So
absolutely
taking that pause to figure out that balance, and then holding the boundary with myself, like, no, you're not going to go back to class until the beginning of the new year, because that's going to give you the proper time to rest. That's going to ensure that you're not going to, you know, hurt yourself more. There was even a performance in the middle of it, and that ripped my little heart out to not be able to, because part of dancing, I love performing. So I was like, oh God, like I want to do this and I want to go to class. Oh, I can go to class and just watch and learn the routine for the performance. No, that's not a thing in my world, because I know myself. Like if I'm in that room, I may start with sitting in a seat, and then I'll start in a seat, and then I'm like moving in my seat, and then it's like, well, just stand up. And then by the end of it, it's full on performance mode and I can't move the next day. So it's really interesting, like, to check in with myself and be like, actually, that's not going to feel good right now. And it's like, you kind of have a conversation, an internal conversation, where it's like, what do you mean that's not going to feel good? Who are you?
And there's a part of me like, oh, like there is a part that might be like, oh, but I like doing that. And it's like, it's okay to be disappointed about the fact that that's not going to be the thing that meets your needs in that moment. There's it's interesting because as you've been talking, I was thinking about a kind of slightly more extreme example of the example I was actually going to give, which is that when I don't know, I think I might have mentioned it on the podcast, but not last year, the year before, I actually broke my spine. I fractured one of my vertebrae when I fell downstairs. And as somebody who like yoga and stretching is like a part of my routine on a regular basis. Most days I will do it at some point once a day. And I go through phases where more of it, less of it kind of thing. But it was the time when, like, because my body physically, it would have compromised my healing. It would have potentially compromised my spine and my ability to do different things going forward. I wasn't allowed to stretch. I wasn't allowed to practice yoga. I wasn't allowed to get a massage. I wasn't allowed to do like body work of any description, whether it was movement or whether it was having body work done to me, was an absolute categorical no for at least 8 weeks. That was one of the hardest 8 weeks of my life, because there was a part of me that wanted to stretch, and even like the part of me that was like injured. Like when we have like painful muscles, a lot of the time, like I want to stretch them, I want to move them, because, and it's like, and I went to a physio, and I was like, can I go get some like massage or anything? And he was like, no, what's happening is that all of those muscles are solid because they're basically holding your spine in place while it is healing. If those muscles relax by you having stretch or massage, basically what you're going to do is you're going to compromise that support, which is allowing the body to heal. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. It was, I mean, I've got to tell you that the first time I was actually able to do yoga again was when I was in Mexico. And I remember that first time of like, oh my God, this feels so good. But I had another experience of this recently where I've been having some lower back problems. And a lot of the time when I had lower back problems, like stretching, yoga and what have you, and there were some days where it's like, this is not what my body needs right now. It needs rest. And there's a part of me, it's like, yeah, but I would really like to do this right now. And it's like, I know you would, but that's not what's going to help. That's not what's going to meet your needs. And I think that that's one of the things that when you're in these sorts of situations, these kind of habits, the things that you do on the regular basis. Another example that comes to mind is that I'm someone, I love I have a smoothie mix that I have most days. And as you can tell, like I've had, as I've said, I've had a bit of a cold recently. And there were like some days where I was kind of so in the habit of making a smoothie, and I'm like, actually, I need something more substantial today. It would have been so easy to have just done the smoothie because that was the thing that I was in the habit of doing. And the smoothie has a whole bunch of nutrition in there. Like it's good for my body to have that. And it wasn't the thing that was going to be supporting me best with where I was at the moment. And so it's like, it's really important for us to take those moments to stop and pause and find out, where am I at today? What is it that I'm needing today? And I think the key thing is that when you think about doing something and it feels slightly off, it's that, like something that normally is like a hell yes, where like every like most days it's like a yep, and then there's this day where it's like a oh, and you're like, wait, what? what say that again, and it's like yeah, no, and that it doesn't even need to be a no. Like sometimes it is. Sometimes the body's like, nope, this is not happening. But when you have those moments where something in your system, whether it's like how you're feeling, whether it is physically how you're feeling, but something in the body just has that moment of waver where it's like, and it's like, what's that?
I get that a lot with the coffee thing, because coffee 100% can be, in my past more so than now, is an addictive thing. Like you just get, it's a crutch. Yeah. Like you just kind of get into it and it's like, okay, like this is what I do. For me, it's interesting that you just brought that up. The disalignment with the coffee, like some days it's just like, nope, not a coffee day.
Yeah.
A lot of times now I drop into it, and if I have a question, if I'm like, do I want a coffee? That's usually my answer right there. That's the disalignment where like, a lot of times that like in the past I'd have the conversation, oh, do you want a coffee? Well, of course I want a coffee. I drink coffee. That's what I do. And blah, 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 blah.
And especially if you're someone who's known as a coffee drinker.
Yeah.
Like sometimes like that, again, that kind of that identity of like, well, I'm a coffee drinker. Of course I want a coffee. Like that almost makes the decision sometimes for you before you've even actually thought about it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like, do I want a coffee? Actually, I just need something. I'm thirsty. I need hydration, or, I really would like something warm. Actually, I think a tea would feel better right now. Like yesterday, I didn't actually say it on the podcast, but like it wasn't a coffee, it was a chai.
Right.
Because I wasn't feeling coffee, and I was like, no, I want something warm. Like I want something that has a little bit, that kind of creaminess. I'm like, okay, like a chai will do that. Like,
right.
And it's for me, it's been very interesting to actually identify with the things that I do.
Right.
It's even like costuming, planning, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's a big event coming up where I'm like, I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to do this. And I'm like, I've taken a step back and I'm like, I want to do those things, and that's great. And those are great things to think about. Is that going to meet my needs right now, to put that on my plate, to then have to plan it, to then have to coordinate, to do this, that, and the other thing? And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, there'll be other forms of magic. There'll be other forms of creation. It's like, I don't always have to do what I do to make it special or to make it happen or to make it right. Or like sometimes it feels so much better to just, well, no, not sometimes, cancel, clear, delete on that. It always feels much better to do what's in alignment with myself, not in alignment with what the expectation is from people.
Well, and sometimes it's through doing something extreme that we figure out like where the habit is versus what we actually really want. It brings to mind, it's interesting actually, because we're planning on doing a detox soon. It reminds me of the very first time I did a juice cleanse, and it was a 28-day juice cleanse. I'd done like juicing, done a few days juicing in the past, and it was like often my reset of like, okay, I've not been eating particularly well, I want to give my body a bit of a reset, and then I'm going to switch to a more healthy way of eating. And I remember what happened was I was planning on doing that, and I ended up watching a documentary about these group of people who did a 28-day juice cleanse, and I was kind of so inspired by it. I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. And it was great. Like I was in like really good, like I felt my body felt really good being on it. But I did very much miss eating. I am a foodie first and foremost. I do have a lot of dietary requirements. I do have allergies and stuff that I have to kind of navigate around, but I love food. I love good food. And so being in that position where you couldn't eat, and it was the textures that I missed, and the flavors and the crunching, and like those.
I miss, whenever I've done a juice cleanse, I miss chewing.
Yeah, just exactly. I just want to do that. Something. And I mean, I was good. It was tough at times. Like I was part of a social group that used to go out for lunches, and I remember there was one point they went to an Italian restaurant, and I'm literally surrounded by garlic bread and lasagna and everything, and I'm there with my little juice like sipping away, because I didn't want to miss out on the social things. And we actually ended up throwing like juicy dinner parties where people were like curious about what we were doing, so we'd have friends over, and I would like do like an appetizer juice, which was often like a ginger shot or something, and then I would do like a main course juice, which was a more vegetable based like smoothie style juice, and then for afters I would do like a dessert style, which was a sweeter style juice. So it was kind of fun. I found different ways of doing it that was fun. And I remember, but it was tough. It was a tough process, and I remember the very last night drinking the last juice going, if I never see another juice again as long as I live, I will be a very happy woman. I'm glad I've done this. I feel great in my body, and I'm looking forward to going back to eating tomorrow. So the following day, kind of easing in to food again, because obviously only having drunk juice for a month, my body was like ill prepared for. I wasn't going to go and have a bacon and egg fry. I mean, I wouldn't have done that anyway because I was pescatarian at the time. But I wasn't going to go and have like like I wasn't going to have my garlic bread and vegetarian lasagna. Like I wasn't going to be doing that. I remember the first for breakfast I ended up having baby spinach leaves with a little bit of smoked salmon, poached egg, and some tomatoes. Like very simple, light food. For lunch, I had a shrimp and orange salad. So again, very, very light. And then I'd been craving sushi for the entire time that I'd been on this thing. It was also when I first watched, I did not do myself any favours. I watched the Great British Baking Show or the Great British Bake Off while I was watching. I'm like, that's torture when you're on a juice cleanse. But it was also when I started watching Grey's Anatomy for the first time. Those people are always fucking eating. Like literally, I'm
you
like,
don't realize
they're eating again. Like when you're not eating is when you see it all. So I'd been craving sushi. So we went to get some sushi. And when I say we went to get sushi, I basically had a sushi roll and I maybe had 4 rings of it, like because my body, I got to that point and my body was like, done, okay, enough. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm okay with that. The following morning, I woke up and my entire body was like screaming at me. If you put anything other than juice in me right now, I am going to stop working. Like it wasn't like quite that extreme in this, but it was like my body was screaming for juice. I didn't want to be drinking juice. I'd spent a month drinking juice. I wanted to be eating all the yummies that my taste buds were craving at that point in time. But what my body was telling me was actually it wanted a balance of both. And I will never, I'm like, what the fuck? What? You've had a month's worth of juice. What do you mean you want juice? But I could feel it in my body. And it was only through taking, because I had and I think a lot of people would relate to this. I had a very warped relationship with food in the sense that like food was a treat for me. So if I treated myself, I would always treat myself with a certain kind of food. It was never food that was particularly nutritious, shall we say? As a woman who obviously we're in a society where our weight and our shape has been bombarded since the moment we were born, and it was like, oh no, I'm constantly thinking about food and weight when I'm eating, but the other thing was that I had no concept of the fact that there was a difference between what my brain wanted to eat, what my taste buds wanted to eat, and what my body wanted to eat. I didn't know my body had a say in this. I didn't know it had a voice. I didn't know there was anything my body wanted until it was that morning. It was like my body's like, stop.
Yeah. Your brain was like, I want food, I want to chew. And your body was like...
And my taste buds are like, oh, we could have this, we could have that, we could have this. My body's like, stop.
What happened to that juice?
None shall pass. Like, give me juice or nothing else. On the fly again. And it was so interesting because at that point I was able to discern the difference between what my brain wanted, what my taste buds wanted, and what my body wanted. And being able to start listening to my body again and being like, oh, and it's like, don't get me wrong, and a lovely fry out might have made me feel good in some respects. All of the food that I was used to having for breakfast would have made me feel good in some respects because I liked the taste of it and I liked the texture of it. But actually it wasn't what met my needs most in that moment. And sometimes it's only through kind of like going from one extreme to the other that we kind of understand what's the difference between habit. Like I think a lot of the time with you and coffee, it's like when you're in the habit of having coffee all the time, you can't really discern. Mm-hmm. I know we've had this conversation, which I'm not kind of projecting. This is like a conversation we've had. Like you can't really necessarily discern whether you want, when you then go from having coffee all the time to not having coffee at all to then having coffee again. You can then like feel the difference it has on the system, right?
Well, and it absolutely. And the interesting thing is, I can tell when I'm getting into the coffee habit when I stop it. Then I start having headaches and withdrawals and those things, and I'm like, well, that really wouldn't happen if I wasn't using it as, the pick me up or if it wasn't just the habit. And it's like you can really see, like your body starts talking to you if you take the moment to listen and to get past the brain, to really just kind of like acknowledge, like, yes, I do like coffee and I do like the taste of coffee and it does this for me. And it's like, is that what I need right now though?
Oh. Sorry, pop screen. Yes, and I don't think it's just about listening to the body, because I know I could have been listening to my body before I made that shift in terms of my diet. I wouldn't have been able to hear it because I wouldn't have known what I wouldn't have known. And I think the same thing with you. You might have tried to listen to the body about the coffee, but it's only when you sometimes it's shifting it's changing up the habits and trying something different and seeing how does your body respond differently to different things. And I mean, obviously at the moment we're talking about very much like physical things, like things that we are consuming. But this is true when it comes to any form of needs. Like how, like often we'll say to people when you're trying to make a decision between something, like think about doing one thing, feel how your body feels. Think about doing another thing, feel how your body feels. Which feels better? You don't have to, it doesn't have to be better in a particular way, like which just feels better in the body. But sometimes you actually need to try doing the two different things and see what feels better for you. Like what feels better. Like for example, I know that for a very, very, very long time, I was a very nice person in the sense that I wouldn't have the uncomfortable conversations and I wouldn't do what was right. I would do what was polite, quote unquote. I would prioritize a lack of discomfort. I'm not even sure that that's right. I would prioritize certain people's feelings over mine or other people's feelings. And I was in a habit of doing that. And I'm going to be really honest. When I first started having uncomfortable conversations, man, was that an edge for me. It's like it went against everything that I had done my entire life. So often it's like people do something different for the first time and it's like, oh, that didn't feel good, so I'm not going to do it again. And it's like, well, yes, and maybe we need to try it more than once. Like some things, don't get me wrong, some things you might try once. Like I'm allergic to Brazil nuts. I tried it once. I don't need to try it again. Like that one I'm pretty one and done with. But when it comes to kind of these emotional side of things, sometimes you want to try things a few times because having the initial conversation was uncomfortable, but oh my God, how it felt on the other side of it was like, and I didn't always have those conversations with the best people to begin with. Like, depending on who you have that conversation with, it's going to be a very different outcome. Yep. But all of a sudden, I had that conversation with Serena, and I'm like, oh my God, this feels so good. Like, my body feels relaxed. I'm not holding tension. Like, I'm not holding the discomfort of the thing that I'm kind of feeling. And I'd done it with other friends before Serena. And every time I'm like, oh, this is uncomfortable when I'm doing it initially. But actually it meets my needs because while it doesn't feel good in the moment necessarily, but it is what's going to give me peace of mind and peace of heart going forward.
I have another example that just kind of came to me. One of the things that I kind of struggled with in the past, if somebody was trying to be there for me, if I was in a hole, if something was going on and somebody tried to be there for me, I'd be like, they're trying to be supportive. They're offering, themselves, and it's like I have to take this. I have to allow them to be there for me. And now there's a lot of times I'm like, I just need to be in my own energy right now. Yeah. Like, I appreciate your support. I appreciate that you want to be here for me. And it's like, and I just need to be with myself. Or like being okay with wanting to and needing to have my own space and not needing that person to come and rescue me or to even be there. Like sometimes, I mean, Claire's experienced it, my husband's experienced where I'm like, just leave, like I'm in my own little cocoon here, like, and that's what I need.
Well, and the interesting thing is, I actually think this is a great example again of going to the extremes, because I think you were in a habit way back of like feeling like you had to accept help and support. Then you went to the opposite extreme where it's like nobody heard anything and nobody knew what was going on and you would just completely disappear off the face of the planet for a period.
Yeah, I'd have my friends like, I mean, there'd be little communication, but I have some friends that are like, hey, have you heard from her lately? Yeah. Like, because I was like, nope, I just have to out. I'm like either in or out.
And it's interesting now how like through going through those extremities, you've found, because I think there was a period where you wouldn't have necessarily believed that being completely isolated would have been helpful, feel good in those situations.
No, I mean, that wasn't a thing that I realized that I actually liked, because I've always been the extrovert. I've always been the people person, you know, like always want people around. So for me, it was kind of a learning of myself too, that it's like, actually, I do need time to myself. Actually, I don't like people around all the time.
Right. Like, but through going through those two extremes, you've actually found a balance. And there are times when you can check and you know how it feels to be on your own. You know how it feels to get support. You know more about, okay, well, this is one of those times. And I'm very similar in the sense that there are times when I need to be on my own. That's very, very, very rare. But there are times when that happens. And when I need to be on my own, I am on my own. Now, I will let, especially Serena, know I'm okay. I'm just
taking some time.
I'm just taking some time. This is where I'm at right now.
And that's the communication, setting expectations from, you know, I mean, with Claire and I, it's friends, it's business partners. There's a lot of, you know, elements to our relationship. But I mean, I apologize to all the people, and I've kind of gone through this with my friends, and it's like, now I'm like, hey, I'm just kind of in a space right now, probably won't be in contact much, like, you know, feel free to message me. I can't say that I'll respond, or like, I'm you know, I need a little bit of me time. I'll let you know when I'm back on. Like, giving people those expectations and kind of like not making them worry, because that's like when somebody in your life just kind of
vanishes,
disappears. Like, you start creating all these stories, all these options. Was it me? Did I do something? And it's like, no, sometimes you just need and need a bit of me time.
Right.
And that's not something I never thought I was worthy of me time. Like, I'm not here to serve everybody else and be a part of their world. Like, that was a hard thing for me. And it's like, now it's like, you know, sometimes, I do, like, actually I could really stand to be witnessed. Are you able to hold space for me? Like, or it's like, you know, I'm going to process some stuff on my own, and then, like, and it's so weird, because sometimes one works and one doesn't, and then the next time it's the opposite, but it's not the same every single time now, where before it was my default. I have to be, you know, they want to be here for me, and I think that's it. I actually just realized that they want to be here for me. I have to be there to receive it.
Right. Yeah.
Regardless of whether or not it serves me.
Right.
So then I get impacted more. They're trying to support me, and then I'm like, why won't they just go away? And then, like, they could be doing like all of the things that would normally check the boxes for me, and I could be like, all right, that's fucking annoying. Just go away. Oh, you didn't even do that right. You're trying to help. Now I have more work. And you can go into this kind of spiral of like, because you didn't name that actually in this situation, I don't need that. And you're taking it on. And that could be with anything.
Right.
It's like, actually, I just made this worse for myself.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing, is that when you don't check in and find out whether something is going to support you and meet your needs, you can sometimes end up doing something that then compromises them even more. And so it really is about kind of checking in, and like, don't get me wrong, if something feels good for you and it feels good every time you're doing it, great, like keep doing it. Like, there's nothing, as long as it's not compromising any other of your needs or anybody else's needs in the process, obviously, like, caveat that. But if like a way of meeting needs that is in a self-first way works for you and you feel good every time you do it, great. And if this thing that works every single time, all of a sudden one day is like, you're like, oh, okay, maybe there's something else that would meet my need better today. And the thing about it is that sometimes it can be really like, there's a part of us that just wants to know. It's like, why? Why? Like the examples that we've given, there are logical reasons why. Sometimes it's not obvious. Sometimes, I mean, and a lot of the time, it's one of the reasons that people tend to try to work with me one-on-one if they can, because quite often I can see the link, I can see the connections under the surface that other people can't. I'm like, oh, it's probably because of this need or because of this. And they're like, oh, that's what it is.
That actually feels like it hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Oh, well, shit, it really is that simple. That happens a lot too. So that like we tend to want to know. And it's really important to follow what you feel, and follow what you feel is going to want to meet your, you feel is going to meet your needs better, even if it doesn't make logical sense, even if you don't know why. And I think that's the thing, is that sometimes like we need it to make logical sense to us to want to follow it. And in actual fact, letting go of that need to know why can help us to be like, it makes it easier for us to just do what feels right and what feels in alignment with our needs in that moment in time. And of course, if we do know why, that can sometimes be helpful. I'm not saying never know why. All I'm saying is that notice if you'll be like, but why don't I want to do this? And the answer can just be as simple as, I'm human and it's okay. I'm human and this just is going to meet my needs better today. And there might be a million and one reasons why. What matters most is you following the impetus to go and follow what it is that's going to meet your needs best that day. Even if it feels odd, even if it feels strange, even if you're someone who's like the life and soul of the party, always out, always partying, and then one day it's like, you know what, I just want to stay in. You can tie yourself in knots trying to figure out why you want to stay in. The simple answer is it meets your needs better.
That's enough. It kind of reminds me of my 40th birthday, where there was all this celebration, and I'm usually very often last man standing. Like, I like a good time. I like to be out in revelry. And we were out for my birthday, which we've talked about before, which is a huge kind of event. And we got to a bar, and I was like, we were supposed to go to Bobby's, and I was like, it's my birthday, my 40th birthday. There's glitter stashed on the stage for me to use later in the night. Like, there was a plan, and I'm like, actually, I'm done. Yeah. And it was the weirdest thing to be like, it's my birthday. This is like the glory day. Like, I have glitter. I'm wearing a tiara, and I'm like, it's going to feel better to go to sleep right now. And it didn't make sense to me. No. Like, and when taking a step back in the moment, it's like, well, yeah, my foundation function need was like, hey, I'm tired. Like,
and we've already been out since like 3 a.m. in the afternoon. But also, we'd been out the night before having another adventure that did actually end at Bobby's momentarily. We didn't like stay the way that we normally did. And then we've been out a lot during the, like, so it had been a full day. Like, it did make sense when you step back. And Serena is used to being the person who rallies, who digs deep and pushes through and makes it happen. And the fact that she didn't, I was like proud mama bear that night. I'm like, oh, look at her meeting her needs. Like, taking care of what she needs more than going to Bobby's. Like that, and that's a big deal. Like when something is something that brings you that much joy, I guess and that's the thing is that the thing that brings you joy, often if you force it because you think it's the thing that you're supposed to be doing, often doesn't end up bringing you much joy at all.
Well, and something that kind of came to me as you were speaking before, sorry for all the coffee references. I just think it's an easy one to kind of like, it's a very surface thing. Like, it's not too deep. Coffee may feel good. And Claire was saying, if it feels good, keep doing it. And I still do. You still see me with my coffee cup. I check in most of the time now. Sometimes it is an unconscious, like, oh, this is just what I do. Or I find myself putting in an order at the coffee shop, and I'm like, oh, do I? All right, well, the order's in there. I'm going to drink this. Yeah. But a lot of times now I check in, and I'm like, even if it does, I know it's going to feel good. I want it. I'm like, is this what I really want? Is something going to feel better? And sometimes it's like, I still get my coffee, and then I do something else too, because I'm like, you know what? The coffee is just because I fucking want coffee. Right. Like, I'm not meeting my needs. It's like, but subconsciously I was trying to meet my foundation function, or it's like, I do. I would like a coffee, and I'm not doing that to stay awake. I'm going to take a little bit of a rest, and then I'm going to have a coffee, and it's making sure that you're just checking in consistently, because there are a lot of times where it's like, I do need something. I'll still have that, and I'd like something else to actually meet the need.
Yeah. Or the thing, or just go, actually, you know what, can I cancel that order? Like, it doesn't work for me anymore. I remember there was a moment when we were doing the visa stuff. I got into, like, I'm not a coffee drinker. Like, I used to be like coffee. I mean, I drank a lot of coffee many, many years ago. And then about 10 years ago, I really kind of gave coffee up, mainly kind of for the caffeine side of things. So every now and again, I would have a decaf coffee. But even the decaf, I wouldn't drink decaf coffee on the regular. It would be like a one every now and again. And I mean, I will be honest, coffee for me is not really coffee. Coffee is just dessert in a cup. Like I have all the things in it. Like I like salted caramel latte is like my happy thing. That it's like because of the flavor of the other things as well. Like not just the coffee on its own. Nah. And when we were doing the visa, because we were under deadline and we were like, it was stressed and we were there was a period of time where I got into the habit of having a caffeinated coffee on a regular basis.
It's also hard when your satellite office is a
coffee house. Yeah, exactly.
But there are other, and just to caveat that, like during that time, there are other options there. Yeah. And there were times where like we'd both have tea or it's like, actually, I'm going to have a smoothie.
Yeah, exactly. So there were other options. And I remember there was a day where we were here and I was like, oh, like, I think Serena, I think you were having a coffee and I was like, oh yeah, I'll have one too. And then I was like, hold on a second. I was like, do I actually want coffee? And actually, no, I didn't want coffee. I wanted the sugar. So I was like, I wanted the sweetness, like that sweet flavor was what I wanted. I was like, I'm going to have a decaf because I don't need the caffeine. Like I just wanted the decaf in that moment. And then from that point onwards, I was like, yeah, I don't even want that right now. Like that's not what, like I like the flavor of coffee. I like my yummy little dessert in a cup things, but that wasn't the thing that was going to support me most in that moment. So it's like that, it's that checking in. And I think that Serena's right, that pause, the moment there is a hesitation over something that's normally a habit, that pause is normally because the pause normally is a question. The pause is like, do I want this? That do I want this normally means that there might be something else that's going to meet your needs a little better.
Come back to me. Come back. Yeah, I'm trying to catch my thought.
Trying to blow it back to
her. It had to do with coffee. I know that. Oh, sometimes you can start doing something that you think meets your needs, and then you can stop.
Yes.
Like I think so many times we forget that. It's like, well, I ordered a coffee and I paid for a coffee and it's here and I don't want to be wasteful and all of these things. The amount of times I put a coffee in the refrigerator now, or I'm just like, actually, no. And I dump it, or I never would have, like, and there's a lot of things that played into why I wouldn't do stuff like that.
I do that with food now. Like, because I always, like, it was always like not wanting to be wasteful. And I don't like to be wasteful. And it's like,
it's so
not wanting to waste money. I have to eat all, And I think that there are times now where it's like, I am eating this because I feel like I should eat this. Actually, I'm done. I don't want to eat anymore. Yeah. And it's like, it's already been bought, or it's been paid for, or it's been prepared, or whatever it is. It's like, it's not going to be any less of that because I'm eating it. Why would I compromise my needs further by eating something that doesn't feel good for me to eat anymore? And that has been a big game changer. So yes, I think that's really great. That's a really great point of like, even if something, and it may start feeling good. You may feel good at the beginning, and then you get to a certain point where it's like, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is that we're talking about. I mean, and we're talking about food a lot today, but I said this applies to other things as well. Like, doesn't matter how much. You can have the most delicious salad in the world. You got 20 tons of the stuff. There's going to come a point where it's not going to be enjoyable to eat it anymore. If you are exercising, it might feel good to begin with. If you exercise nonstop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're going to hit a point where it's going to be like, no, this doesn't feel good anymore. I need something else. I need rest. So it's okay to stop.
Even so, something that came to me as an example, like my husband and I were cuddly. Like we snuggle a lot. And there are some times where we'll be snuggling and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm done. And it's like, and a little bit more, you know, like it's usually not. And finish.
We're done.
But like, it's like realizing like this felt good and now it doesn't. So let's do something else because why am I'm going to be uncomfortable in a situation, or vice versa, where it's like, it's just too hot. It's too hot right now. Like I just need to do this, and I can't do this if you're in my circle. Yeah, like whatever it is, and it's okay to be like, oh, nope, not working right now.
It was a yes, and now it's a no. And sometimes it might start as a no, and sometimes it might start as a maybe, but that probably is a no, or it's a probably. There might be something that's better. Like. Any one of these options is okay. So
and you may go back to it after too. Yes. Like sometimes there have been times, and I'm going to use more so the cuddling than the coffee on this, where it's like, okay, I actually just needed a couple of minutes of like space. Like there was a weird energetic thing going on or whatever. I just
wanted space.
Yeah, like for no reason. I didn't even try to figure it out. Like
I just wanted some space, and now I'm good to cuddle. You still good to cuddle? Cool, let's cuddle.
Yeah.
So I think this has been like this went in a slightly different direction to where I thought it was going to go today, which happens pretty frequently. I'm going to be honest, but I really like where we ended up today. Anything you want to add before we finish up?
I'm good.
Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We're going to be sending you lots of love. Stay safe, and remember between now and next time to take care of your own needs. Lots of love.
Bye, friends.
That's it for today.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and give us a written review,
as it will help more people find us.
And remember, your go-tos may not always be the best way of meeting your needs. So be sure to check in and see what's going to meet your needs best in any given moment.
Well, shit. It really is that simple.